very short introduction. I don't want to go into too much detail. I come from a science background. I have a previous master's in biomedical science. I've worked in a lot of fields beyond that. I've worked in research, so pharmaceutical research per se. And then much later in life, I moved on to working on the business side of things with startups. So for the past 8-10 years, I've been working with startups, all different kinds of startups, different fields. Just to give some statistics, add statistics to my introduction, I've been working for about 15 years now, and I've had 10 different jobs. While I was still doing jobs for the past 3 years, I've been a freelancer. I've worked with various different organizations during that time. But yeah, so 10 jobs, 7 different sectors, 15 years, and here I am. And now I am going back sort of a little bit to the basics. I'm currently based in Berlin, and I'm doing a master's in mind and brain from Humboldt University, which Einstein also went to. So that's my flex these days. My secret sauce is, in hindsight, it was never the sauce that I first discovered and then made the meal. So I have gone the other way around, as everyone else does as well. Honestly, I really believe that our real purpose in life is just exploration. And since you started a food analogy, I will also use a food analogy. We are born with a certain affinity to some taste profiles. That's also the way the brain is. Some people, for example, like sweet a lot. Some people will like salty and sour a lot. So this taste profile, and this is all an analogy, it is true for all sorts of things. Some people are more creatively inclined. Some people are more technically inclined. And it exists in the brain as well, in what it prefers. So it exists, but how are we supposed to know if the brain doesn't have a mouth of its own to tell us, hey, this is what? It would be easier if, we were born and it would tell us you're born to be an engineer, jaise Indian parents bolte hain. But the brain doesn't do that. So I think our job is to explore. Our job is to go around, find this flavor profile which really speaks to us, which makes us very passionate. And once we found that flavor profile, to go slightly deeper into exploring what parts of it we like and so on and so forth. So these are, if I start also putting a three-dimensional overview of the analogy with life phases. So for me also, in the beginning, it was similar. I did the conventional path for lack of understanding of what I can do. My father said, science mein scope acha hai, so do science. So I did science, then I did bachelor's, and then I was like, okay, what should I do now? So I did a master's. So I followed the conventional path. I explored. I did not do the whole flavor profiling. I went deep into one aspect of something, and I explored that completely. Then I realized I only know one flavor. So I kind of then expanded out and I started doing more exploration. So, if you want to attach life phases to it, I think the first stage of life, unlike what I did, should be exploring, going wide and exploring a lot. The second stage of life should be going deeper and exploring one thing really deeply, something that has really spoken out to you when you were going wide. And then this third stage, which I think I am in right now, is to, once you have explored something deep, to again come out and do a little bit more exploration, continue the exploration. And the reason I say this also is from a longevity perspective. It helps the brain. So if I move a little bit to the brain side, the brain also likes to expand a little bit when it likes to breathe. So if you just do one type of work all day, every day for the rest of your life, you're using a certain part of your brain which will get fatigued, and it is going to, not function very well. So when we sleep, for example, the brain is consolidating all the things that you've done in the day, and it's also trying to breathe a little bit. So we have to create these kind of pockets of breathing. We have to engineer them into our lives so that we are not. So for example, I went out, I explored, and I realized pani puri is my thing. I just need pani puri, and that really excites my taste buds and flavor profile. If I just eat pani puri then for the rest of my life, I'm just going to start hating it. Whether how much ever I like pani puri, then it becomes my duty to create a preserving environment where I don't hate pani puri by giving it some other things here and there, pani puri adjacent or something very different. So exploration, going deep, and then working on how to preserve the explored passions and things that you found. That's what I have done, and that's what's gotten me to this place. And I believe that this is, this is from both sides. I can vouch for both the sides. I did the conventional thing at one point in life, and then I did the whole dropping everything out and being like, no, I can't do anything, I'm going to not do anything that I've done so far thing as well. And honestly, both of these are driven by the driving factor for both of them is actually the same. Before I get to what the driving factor is, I think first I'll tie it to what I had said before. Creating balance is something that is very crucial. Like I said, exploring, then learning how to preserve your explored understanding and creating that balance. And that balance comes over here as well. So the first category of people who are just going crazy, very hard on, entrance exams and this and that and all of that, a huge percentage of that are, I'm not denying that there are people who do know their calling and they feel like, yeah, this is what I want to do, and they passionately feel about it, they go for it and they succeed in it, great. But there's a massive percentage of people in this category as well who are not interested in the things that they are doing. And why are they then doing it, right? I think one of the major reasons, and which was also the reason for me, was lack of awareness. There is so much, and I studied, it's been donkey years since I first did my bachelor's and master's, but and the problem has progressed, has only amplified right now, which is the amount of things that are happening, the new things that are happening in the world. So how do you keep an awareness? When I had to keep an awareness of just math, science, engineering, medicine, and dentistry, and law, it was still difficult. Those were the few fields that were available. But abhi, aaj ke date mein, there are so many new things happening which do not follow the conventional, may not necessarily follow the conventional education paths for you to get to them. For example, if you want to be a writer, if you just want to be a copywriter, what do you do? Do you do science? Do you do commerce? Or do you do arts? None of those fields are going to help you get there. So it's the first is obviously awareness, which is lacking. And then the second, the exploration is lacking. We don't go out enough during our 12th standard or our degree studies to explore other fields that are happening. So I study in Germany and I see this a lot. Like even right now I work in a lab and there's a student who is a high school student. He's working in the lab since a year. And I was like, why are you doing this? And he's like, just to explore. And I'm like, why did you choose this? He's like, because I didn't know anything else. And they have programs which help you choose a field and you can go and work in that field for a year and then make up your mind. And this is a year that they take before applying to colleges. So this is, and then I was like, okay, so now you spend 1 year in neuroscience. What are you going to do for your bachelor's? And he was like, I'm going to do law. I'm like, what? You spent a year doing this? He's like, yeah, this was great experience. And I really thought this is what I want to do. But spending a year over here has made me realize that I don't want to do this. I want to do law. And he was so clear about it. And I'm so sure I would that if I follow his life trajectory, there's a higher chance of him being in the middle rather than being in the place where he goes crazy about one field and just thinks that is his thing, or he drops out and feels like, no, this is not my thing at all. So this whole aspect, so one is, I said, awareness is lacking, second, exploration is lacking, and third, this imaginary belief of time. We are losing out on time, makes us take these kind of decisions. This guy spent 1 whole year in science to realize he doesn't want to do it, and he was extremely confident and happy about it. Imagine the number of years it's going to save for him. Imagine the number of years I would have saved if I, at age 20, would have taken a year to explore things. So if I wanted to do IIT, if I wanted to do medicine, if I would have just taken 1 internship or 3 internships in 3 fields, gone and explored it, and then if I would have gone along and picked the field of choice, I would not be in a place where one day I felt like I have to drop everything. So the cumulative years that I lose out on, the imaginary years the supposed race that I have to win, I would have actually been much further in that race if I wanted to. So yeah, I think that's primarily so, which is why, and I'll just go one step forward and kind of what I think is the solution to this, honestly, is exploration. And how do you explore? One is obviously going and doing these internships, blah blah blah, but it's invaluable how much we can gain from mentorship. And mentorship, I know, is a very official term right now, but what does mentorship mean? It just means that you go and talk to people who are doing things. You don't have to go to a CEO of a company to understand what happens in an engineering tech firm, right? You can talk to an engineer who's out there doing his job. You can try and understand. You don't have to take advice from people. You can just go to them and maybe ask them, what does your day look like? Can I come and spend 3 days with you at your workplace? That will give so much more than just looking up on the internet or whatever. So yeah, I think good mentorship, good these opportunities where you can go and get hands-on understanding and training from people, all of these are very valuable and can probably help youngsters find their balance. I mean, honestly, we should scrap everything I've said so far. I think the biggest problem is this mythical time that is running away. It is not running away. Like in the beginning, we feel like, oh my God, I'm in my 20s, I'm in my mid-20s, I'm in my 30s, I need to achieve, otherwise what? Like when you reach, I think for me, when I reached my 30s, I was like, wow, I've done everything. Now what do? I have so much time. I still have time. I did all the things I was supposed to do at certain times, but there was still time. So yeah, honestly, like, first of all, there is no time that is running away. And if you really want to categorically and objectively look at this, the time you actually save a lot more time when you go strategically. In the current startup infused atmosphere, the messaging that goes out is to hustle and to go crazy. If you have no skills, it's fine, we'll figure it out. Figuring it out is a very great skill. We all should have it, but we should use it in the right direction in life. Figuring it out, I won't study, but I'll figure it out. I won't take proper training on how to run the company, but I'll figure it out. Yes, you will figure it out. But when there are better ways, if you can invest 1 extra year to get a formal understanding, I don't want to say formal education, maybe some education is not required, but if you maybe go and get some experiential learning, you go and spend a year, for example, this guy spent it in a lab, and then if he goes and does some science somewhere else, it will make a lot more sense. He will save a lot more time. He will save a lot more mental space. He will definitely ensure he doesn't get burnt out because of feeling like an imposter or feeling like, oh my God, I am doing, what if everybody knows I don't know my things, So it's actually, in the longer run, you save a lot more time. You end up being more healthy when you get to a place where you want to do what you do, and you're a lot more surer. So today, I'm a lot more surer of what I am doing, because at some point I decided to stop all the noise that was coming from outside, which said time is ticking. When I stopped listening to that and I started looking inwards and thinking of, okay, being very analytical about, okay, how does my brain work? I have done 5 different things so far. Which one? So using my own personality and my own behavior as an analysis, as data for analysis, using that, having the mind space to think about it, being strategic, then being like, okay, these are the kind of things I like, these are the kind of things I don't like, and these are the kind of things I don't know about. So then putting that in a strategy document and then taking steps, then being like, okay, I need a creative outlet, I need a technical outlet, and I need a fun outlet. I then design my life around it. So for my creative outlet, science helps me do that. Science did not help me feel happy when I was doing it just by itself, because it has a lot of its own problems, right? Now I do it just for my creative outlet, and it's incredible because it serves all of that. It helps me with new knowledge, it helps me be humble in life, it helps me upskill my knowledge side of things. Then for my technical side of things, where I know I'm good at certain things, I consult with startups. And that's a great space. When I was just doing startups, it was not enough, because from time to time I would miss the creativity that was involved. When you do the same kind of work all the time, you're like, okay, it's not creative enough. So I do that. And for the fun side of things, I live in Europe, I travel, and I do all of that. So then now I have designed my life in these threefold, because, and this is the only aspect of my life, or this is the first phase of my life when I am very intentional about what I'm doing. I'm doing it because I took the time to sit back and analyze myself and analyze what parts of my brain need to work together. When I'm doing my creative side, when I'm doing science, my startup side of the brain is resting. It's not being used. So I've engineered my life in a way where there's rest is inbuilt into my thing. Fun is inbuilt into my life. I used to do this as well, where I would go really hard, really fast. Then I would break down. Then I would be like, oh my God, now I have to rest. I have to take a holiday. I would go on holiday. Then I would be like, oh my God, now I have to recover from holiday. Then it's not, either you go slow and steady or you go quick and dirty. And I prefer slow and steady now. I have a very impractical advice, but I will give a practical one. So the impractical advice is that, which I truly believe in as well, which is you should learn for the sake of learning, not for the sake of getting something out of it. Right now I learn for the fun of it. I don't need this new degree that I'm studying for. But I know that is not practical, because you also need to, what about other aspects of life? Because I have reached this point where I was able to build a career on the side, and now I'm using the career to fuel my passion. But you can't do that when you're young, right? So I think the more practical advice is to build multiple skills at the same time. And again, now I say that because building multiple things at the same time will help you take the pressure off one thing. If you're just doing one thing, then you can't, if you're just studying, okay, you are these days we have so much available to us to build side skills. So if I'm doing a bachelor's in science, I can study it and I can take the joy of studying out of it if I'm just doing that, and I'm like, okay, I have to finish and I have to get a job after this. If there's so much pressure on that one degree, then you inevitably move from learning to maximizing its end goal. The science degree is a means to an end for a job. If that is the path, then you will try to find a way to just get the best marks. Because job ke liye kya chahiye hota? You need best grades, you need to do it fast enough, and you need to just tick all the boxes. So if you are doing a degree just for the sake of a job, you will not learn. And if you don't learn, then that's the first wastage of time that you've already engineered in your life. So how do you do that? You study, and for the sake of learning, you learn what they are teaching, you imbibe it, you absorb it. On the side, if you can do something more, something, for example, if you're creative enough, then why not do a digital course on, say, designing something, or a software that you can learn on the side. So the idea is to find your own mix and match. Pani puri mein kya dalna hai, meaty chutney, green chutney, pyaz, you find that out. But put multiple things into your bowl so that when you have to draw from it, there is enough to draw from. And if one thing doesn't work, like science, BSc pura 3 saal padhne ke baad, you change your mind. And that happens. Like, the brain can only process information that it knows. It can't just process on the basis of a brochure that it read at the start of the course, right? So at this end, if the brain says, sorry, boss, this is not happening for me, allow it to say that, right? Allow it. And you will be more comfortable to say, okay, it's fine, because you were also doing 2 other things on the side. So now you have more to draw from. Your well is not empty. So yeah, I think doing multiple skill development at the same time is super crucial.